I'm Sarina Fazan. Taking a risk, making a difference, and changing the course of your life. Remarkable stories from people defying the odds. You're listening to Trailblazer. Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Sarina Fazan. We're so happy you're with us, and I'm so excited to have Davin Joseph with us. Thank you for being here. So, Davin, introduce yourself. Of course, I know who you are. Right. I mean, one of my favorite former Tampa Bay Buccaneer.
Good job. I'm happy to be on the list. My name is Davin Joseph. I played in the NFL for 9 years. Recently retired 5 years ago, and moved on to my life after football, which is in real estate investing, which I manage short-term, long-term rentals. And so, new daily challenge, but it's fun, it's exciting, and so I plan on being in it for the long run.
Well, we have lots to talk about, and here you are, so humble. Yes, played in the NFL. You were the first round draft pick in 2006.
That was a long time ago.
Come on, you were the first round draft pick to the Buccaneers.
Right. What a privilege. What a privilege. It was a fun ride. I met a lot of great guys along the way. Guys I still keep in contact with now. So.
Well, in fact, we were on the phone with the team doctor,
Correct.
Dr. Joseph Diaco, who told me prior to interviewing you, he said, man, that guy is great. He's a solid player, a great player, and a great person.
I feel the same way about him. He was awesome. He's really a staple in the Buccaneers organization. Mm-hmm. He's been around for a very, very long time. I think, his contribution to the club, especially during the winning years, his Gridiron years, Super Bowl teams. He's a legend. He's got to retire his name and ring around it too.
I know. And speaking of John Gruden and the Super Bowl team, you actually got here the year after we won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, right after the Super Bowl was won, but very good team. So I got to really play with some of those Buccaneer legends like Derek Brooks and Ronnie Barber. Chris Hovan, he hasn't gotten on the Ring of Honor yet, but soon to come. Mm-hmm. And it was a fun ride. It was really, really great. Still keep in contact with guys like Ernest Graham, Jeremy Trueblood, Donald Penn, all people that played here, and were great contributors to the club. So it's
the community, don't you think? Coach 100%. Tony Dungy really started that. I thought. All the coaches, were great. The coach Tony Dungy was. Yeah, he is amazing.
He was definitely, the one that turned his entire organization around as a whole. And his impacts could be felt even today. A lot of the things he started.
Absolutely. One of the classiest men I've ever interviewed in my life. Oh, my gosh. So I wanted you on the podcast for numerous reasons, of course, to talk about what you're doing, but also everybody right now with this coronavirus crisis, it's affected the world. It's it's a global pandemic. Yeah. But now everybody's talking about sports and reopening sports. And sports really galvanizes a community, I feel. Don't you think?
Yeah. I think, of course, it's the economic impact, but it's also the fact that sports has a love in America. It's definitely a part of the DNA in America, especially football being played here. And then just the importance that it is to what the players, what their impact is to the community. Also, how much that, we always see sports throughout everything. No matter what the country's going through, it seems like sports always continues to exist. And it's the first time that I know about that sports has really been stopped across the board.
In history, I think, right? I mean, completely stopped.
Right, and so now it leaves us wondering kind of what's the new normal. What it's going to be like to see sports in the near future.
So what do you think? Because we know the governor of Florida and several governors have echoed what DeSantis has said. Governor DeSantis is that welcoming sports. The NFL has also promised that there will be a 2020 football season. So what do you think that looks like? Like right now, we know that the players haven't been practicing. Like typically, you guys would have been in serious practice mode, right?
Yeah, you're definitely being doing OTAs, getting into like mini camp season, then into training camp. So of course the schedule will be modified to some extent. What they're going to do with training camp, I'm not sure. Will it be longer or shorter? Possibly longer. Players getting started rather maybe mid-July rather than, traditionally in early August. I know they were doing some virtual things, trying to do, the playbooks and some of the learning stuff. But
how hard is that though?
I think we've all seen the struggles a little bit, especially with even with kids at home, homeschooling kids or even online learning. It's been a challenge, So you have a lot of people even still trying to conduct business virtually. It's been a challenge. So I think it'd be hard at first, but maybe it's something that they pick up and do in the future. So that it may become a part of the off-season program that they may start to put some of the playbook on some kind of a platform and do virtual sessions that may not require people to meet in person.
There can always be something positive,
right.
I guess, that comes out.
Yeah.
But especially with pro sports, though, and I do appreciate that, but especially with pro sports, how important is it? Isn't it more important to be on the field and face-to-face?
Of course. Yeah, but it's a tradition, and I think, you've seen a lot of businesses that will have always been a face-to-face type, business or conduct a lot of their business in an office space that will change, So, of course, yes, I think that it's better, but that's the only way I've ever experienced it. So I can't really give much perspective on the other side.
Right, because
I've never experienced it. So, I think with technology right now, there'll be a way to make it better. But of course, maybe the first run isn't so good, or maybe the second version isn't so good. But maybe in the near future that they actually get something that the players like better. We don't know, because working from home is a trend right now that I think a lot of people are liking, that they're preferring, starting to prefer. Maybe it's their first experience with it. But of course, you can't really have an opinion about a Zoom call until you actually do one.
Right.
So, and then maybe your first experience wasn't great, but then eventually after your second or third time, you got to get used to it. You're like, it's not so bad.
Yeah, it's not so bad. We can do this. Well, so gosh, and I don't mean to be bearing the lead either. I mean, what a big year for the Buccaneers to get Tom Brady.
Right. Yes.
Tom Brady to Tampa. So here he is, our new quarterback. I'm sure. I mean, it's always exciting when it starts, but this year the level is, amped up.
I think to an all-time high. It seems like, Tampa's, going to change for the better. And I think there's been a lot of changes that have taken the Buccaneers in the right direction. And this one definitely has to be the biggest splash that they've made in a long, long time.
Were you surprised too?
Oh, very much so. I didn't want to believe it at first until he signed the contract. But of course, it's official now. It's official. And you just, the thing that I just hope he gets everything that he wants out of it also. So, of course, the city's, happy to have him. His presence in the community is going to be great. But I hope that this is good for him, that he really gets everything that he wants out of the situation.
Well, I just think, a class move, of course, and people will say, of course, yes, definitely, he makes a lot of money, no doubt. And so it's easier to make a decision like this when you make a lot. But I do think it's a class move to take less, to be able to bring other players in into the team.
Correct. You're talking about with his relationship with the Patriots.
Yes, with the Patriots, and the way he's conducted his contracts, in the past. I mean, and one of my favorite stories is when he first went to the Patriots and he was walking down the tunnel, and the owner introduced himself to the owner, and he shook the owner's hand and he said, "My name is Tom Brady, and you've just made the best decision of your life." And that was at a time when he wasn't Tom Brady yet,
Right. That's pretty neat.
But speaking of that, there's so much excitement and everything, and so now people just in general are excited to get out, and especially here in Tampa, I think to go to these games. Davin, what do you think is going to happen? I mean, are there going to be fans? I mean, I just talked to someone in the field, and they said there has not been a determination yet.
I believe that there will be fans in the stands here in Tampa. When you talk about heat, humidity, open air stadium, I think there's less risk. If we played in a dome, it would probably be a lot different. I think as we were discussing before, governors and states. The different states have different takes, different cases, different, perspective about sports. I believe that pro sports will get back to normal. Collegiate sports will be very, very hard to see because of the student body, the amount of teams. They don't have a unison kind of a board to really navigate through the space properly. So we'll see some leagues, such as UFC, we see this back already, but they're in an arena. So of course, it'll probably be a long time before they get people back in the arena, or at least can fill an arena. But I think if it's more along the lines of soccer or football, something that's played outside, I think we can see fans in the stands faster.
So there's 32 NFL teams,
Correct.
right? 32 NFL teams. And so, of course, not all 32 have these open-air stadiums. So do you feel then, and you and I were talking about this prior, do you think then some teams will have more games than others? Like the teams that actually don't have an open-air arena might be playing at...
I think what will most likely be, my opinion is that they won't have home games in arenas. That maybe you'll get to similar to baseball where you have double headers, right? 2 games and 1 day. Maybe that's something that they can introduce into certain markets like Florida, where you have open air stadiums and a lot of heat and humidity, that you will have 2 games, basically 4 teams, 2 games on a Sunday at a Tampa stadium, or at a Miami stadium or at a Jacksonville stadium, where you can actually get fans and sell tickets and have concessions. But of course, there's going to be some kind of rules to that engagement. But I don't know if a team like Atlanta will be able to play in their dome.
And how important, I know with each sport, of course, home field advantage is important.
Correct.
But isn't it more important in certain sports, like football?
Yeah, home field advantage is always good.
Yeah,
it's always
because you have your fans.
Of course, right. And in certain places like New Orleans, right, where you would play in a dome and they have so much tradition behind, the Saints and how they play and the chants and stuff, you will miss that. But I don't think this will be forever. It's similar to, if we talk about the New Orleans Saints, Hurricane Katrina and the dome was destroyed. So they had to play in another market, right? Similar to, I believe it was
I lived in New Orleans too for 3 years before I came here.
Oh,
I was an anchor there.
Yeah, okay,
I was an anchor in New Orleans.
Nice.
But it was prior to Katrina, but that was awful. But you're right. But that is a good example. They had to rebuild.
When the basketball team had to move to Oklahoma City for a while, and so they went from one market to another market. And then, now it's hard to even think about the NBA without the Oklahoma City Thunder, right? But before, it was the Supersonics, and I believe the Hornets were in New Orleans. Something, they made it happen. But Oklahoma City was a great market for a basketball team at the time when New Orleans couldn't host the basketball team.
It's just going to be so interesting, I think, to see if they allow fans in. But then they say, all right, we're going to only allow a limited number of fans.
Correct.
But then what do you do? Like if you're a season ticket holder, so do you allow only the season ticket holders in, or maybe there's too many season ticket holders?
Correct.
So there's a lot of big decisions.
It's a lot of big decisions, and I think it's going to be on a case by case kind of a decisions to be made. I think it's going to be very hard to make intimate decisions on a macro scale. I think they'll just put out some guidelines and then try to see how they can really fit into those guidelines. And some exceptions will have to be made.
So let me ask you this. Okay, speaking of that, to go back to the question we were first talking about how the teams and the guys aren't practicing like they typically would. I guess everybody then is at a disadvantage. It's not one team over the other. So could we see players this year not playing at their optimal best because they haven't been able to practice or go to these training camps?
100%. 100%. And I don't, with contact sports, when are you going to be able to start making contact again, right? And then how do you regulate the health of the players, right? To say that the difference between a common cold or flu, right?
Right.
Right, because that's something that we would traditionally practice with, to now, of course, injuries, right? What's an injury, illnesses, and then their contact with the public, right?
Right.
Physical therapists, doctors, their family, friends, right? Fans. How do you start to limit that? And where do you start to draw the line? Or there is no line to be drawn.
Oh,
You
man.
know, even reporters,
Right.
the media,
Right.
in the locker rooms. It's like, how do you regulate that? And what is safe? So is I think once you're in, and it's going to be hard to draw a line.
Right.
And it's going to probably be at your own risk. But certain environments just aren't going to be safe. Period. But if you think about a Sunday football game, it is packed from the sidelines to the stadium, the restrooms,
everywhere.
The
tailgating,
everywhere.
The bars.
Yeah.
I mean, are bars going to even be open? And we don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, everything.
Yes.
So when you say at your own risk, and I know no decisions have been made, and we're discussing opinions here. So
Correct,
at your own risk could fall even on the player, right, or the coach at like their own risk, or if they want,
When I say that, of course, somebody doesn't want the liability.
Yeah.
So of course, the teams aren't going to want the liability to say that if you decide to participate, that they can't guarantee. So it's going to essentially be at your own risk.
At your own risk.
So of course, the nature of playing contact sports is at your own risk. There's no way to guarantee that you're not going to be injured. Of course, you put on helmets and shoulder pads and braces, and still get hurt. So now you have an illness that's going to be treated a little bit different than an ACL.
Yeah.
Then now you're at your own risk, to be responsible for your health. But if an entire locker room gets COVID, they're going to shut down the team to protect the league.
Wow.
So it's a lot of scenarios that can go when you even do at your own risk. But
yet the NFL, keeps on saying they will play. They will play. And I'm telling you, I mean, as a fan, I hope they do.
Oh, because, they do too. Right. But of course, I'm on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
And so, am I the person that will go to every game on Sunday? No. Well, I'll probably go to some games, but not all games. Do I have the liberty to wear a mask? Right.
Right.
Some people will wear masks. Some people won't wear masks. Right. How do you sanitize? The things that you're touching, you can't, right? So you wear gloves. Are they effective? Are they not effective? Right? Nobody really knows. So from a fan perspective, you can protect yourself a little bit better than a trainer.
Right. And the player that's
the
again
player,
making contact.
Right? Yeah. So it's coaches. How can you really protect yourself when it will be no distance? Everything is up close. So it'll be definitely interesting to see.
And I should have mentioned at the very beginning that you were an offensive lineman.
Correct. Yeah.
So, I think it's only 1% of the entire population, maybe 2%, but I still think it's only 1% actually makes it into pro sports.
Correct. Yes.
Which is so amazing.
It's an amazing journey.
It is an amazing journey. So, I mean, do you sometimes look back and think, wow, I'm one of those guys. I'm one of the 1%.
It's definitely something to be proud of.
Yeah.
It's definitely something to be proud of. So, it's not a forever journey, but it's something to definitely reflect on. And, certain times of the year, every year, that it really kind of, I guess you kind of get reminded of it. So it's similar to the draft this past year. and being able to reflect and seeing a lot of my friends on Facebook kind of post, their draft status or where they were drafted, or kind of reflect on their journey in sports. And it allows me to reflect too, and it's something I'm very proud of. Of course, worked very hard for it. Was able to, live my childhood dream for, 9 years, and along the way, really meet a lot of friends of mine that are lifelong friends, So, of course, the percentages are small, and rightfully so. It's a very hard journey. But it was a blessing.
Do you miss being on the field? Do you miss being on the field?
Some parts. Some things, no. Some things I don't miss. I don't miss getting yelled at. But of course, Sundays are special days in the world of football. So of course, season openers and playoffs and things of that sort, rivalry games and stuff like that. That's fun stuff. So of course you miss that.
And you have two adorable boys, 12 and 16, but,
Right.
but they don't watch football
No,
with you.
they don't watch football with me.
Is that painful? Is that like a stab to the heart? They're great boys. I know. But it's interesting to me that here their dad
Correct.
is like this, professional football player, former professional football player. Very few people achieve, as we talk, less than 1%, and they're not watching football.
No, they're into their own world. They're not sports fanatics like I was when I was growing up. My neighborhood, we were sports fanatics. That's what we were always playing or involved in some kind of sports all the time. And even for me now, I'm still a big sports fan. I watch fights, boxing, UFC fights, boxing, football, soccer, anything that's on TV that's sports related, I'm watching it. But now in those sports, I had to turn to Netflix. And so,
And I plugged All American. I think All American is a great show. If you guys haven't seen it, I would highly suggest it. It's about high school football players. But you're so wonderful, and you call Florida home.
Florida's home, yes.
Florida's home. You were born here,
Correct.
In Hallandale, and you continue to give back to the community. Tell us what you're doing now. Like you're not, you're not playing, but you're still in the playing field. Correct.
Yeah. So right now, as far as business goes, I'm a real estate investor now. Got involved in it when I was playing. Kind of on the back end of the crash. Bought a lot of places in Tampa.
Good for you. Good for you.
And so that's my day-to-day stuff. I still give back to the community. I still do giveaways for Thanksgiving in Hallandale. I still donate to my high school in Hallandale. I'm still, involved in that kind of sports world, and it's mainly through feeding kids. So it's something I started when I was playing and, had a nonprofit for a while, then reverted back to my old way of just donating to the schools. And so just, ensuring that they have pregame meals for a lot of for majority of the sports, male and female sports, like such as football, basketball, volleyball, track and field, wrestling, and trying to support those programs for the kids that are, participating in it.
That's fantastic that you give back.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a great thing.
What advice would you give to young boys out there, or even young girls, because we're seeing a lot of female athletes that want to be, that really want to achieve the status. And honestly, most of it boils down to, your talent. But you can also persevere, right? So,
100%.
So what advice would you give? What advice would you give to kids?
You have to be where you're at. Of course, we can always kind of dream about where we want to go. And I think that's great, But those day-to-day challenges of getting up and working hard and doing things the right way, integrity, right, about how you work and what you do, and the person that you're developing yourself to be is an everyday challenge. So it's not necessarily about where you want to end up, but the journey is so enriching of the discipline that you can take with you, whether you make it or not, right? The integrity that you can develop within yourself, the standard that you develop within yourself, that's a day-to-day thing that's going to build your character, build who you are, so that one day when you get there, that you'll be who you want to be, right? So it's not always about being the fastest, right? Because I've seen a lot of people who are very, very physically talented, but on the they didn't respect the journey enough, so they failed when they got there. So so that's when I say you have to be where you're at, right? Because every day we're in the present, and in the present is where you got to give your most effort. Of course, it's wonderful to dream, and I suggest that everybody should always dream big, but you have to win the day. You have to go about respecting the process of it every single day. So if it's getting up and lifting at 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, you got to do it. You got to do it right. If it's going to class, you got to do it. You got to do it right. So a lot of those things are going to prepare you and build you up, so that if professional is in your dreams, that when you get to that level, that you're fully prepared for everything that it comes with.
Life is happening right now.
Oh,
it's not happening tomorrow. It's happening right now.
Correct. Yeah.
My final question, unless you have something to add, because I love the advice that you're giving kids, and really, truly, all of us.
Right.
I really commend you as an athlete as well to, retire from this profession and then go on to another very successful profession. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we see some athletes, there's a percentage of athletes that will retire and then they don't have anything.
Correct.
I just don't see, it's so sad to me, to see that. Would you have advice for any of those athletes?
Oh, I think that
you have to be smart, right?
You have to be smart. But of course, the biggest thing is learning from your mistakes too. When I advise my kids on a lot of things that they're interested in or whatever, is that you have to be ready to fail. Failure is the number one learning lesson that we all have. It's just about, you got to get back up. So it's just like if a baby is learning how to walk, it's gonna fall. So, but you got to get back up and try again. So we have to learn from our mistakes. And I think that a lot of athletes end up in trouble because they're not learning from their mistakes, right? We all know that transition is hard, no matter who you are. Once you invest, especially in football, you invest so much time and effort. Your body, mind, spirit, everything is in the game. And then for it to be taken away from you. But we were warned at the beginning.
Right.
We were warned at the beginning. So you can't complain at the end. So that when you're going through that journey, we were talking about, being where you're at and doing things the right way, you're going to pick up so much from your coaches on how to work hard, right? How to build your integrity, how to build your character, how to focus on school, how to learn and to continue to learn. Learning is a lifelong process.
It sure is.
Not just a school age thing, right?
Yes.
So you can take that. That's all stuff that football or sports is going to give you. It's all there, but you got to utilize it. Whatever you do, whether it's going to be a janitor mopping the floors, with those same skills, you won't be a janitor for long. You'll continue to move up. You'll continue to progress. But I don't know why a lot of athletes forget that when sports are over. Mm-hmm. I never could answer that question. It feels as if once you learn all that, and that's your daily routine, to be able to get up and work so hard and chase a dream, that once that dream is fulfilled, or let's just say it doesn't work out how you want it to, why does the work stop?
Very good point.
I never understood that. And I think also that sometimes with professional sports, that money is always connected with success. And it shouldn't be like that. I think success is not always financially related. That you can fail financially. A lot of businesses do. A lot of people do. In general, who work, and you may lose your business, whether it's through something tragic as a natural disaster or something bad as a business partner. The work doesn't stop, and the dream doesn't just stop, and that, financial success isn't just the only way of success, because I believe a lot of athletes have a lot to give to their communities, to their families, to their friends, to people they don't even know. that they have great platforms to do great things.
Well, you were amazing. It was so nice. It was so nice to have you here. We could keep on talking. Let's continue talking off the set. But thank you so much for joining us. Davin Joseph, thank you so much for being here. In closing, paraphrasing one of my most favorite poets, Ralph Waldo Emerson. I don't know why I still have this piece of paper here because I'm so afraid that I'm not going to say it right. Go where there is no path and leave a trail. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. I'm Sarina Fazan.